So we know that losing weight is a simple matter of mathematics, burning more calories than you eat, managing your total daily energy expenditure. So I thought today we could talk a little bit more about that in detail because it is the absolute key to shedding excess body fat. Notice I said excess body fat. Body fat is very, very important. It's absolutely essential, and the word fat has a lot of negative connotations attached to it, which is unfair. If you're someone who's looking to lose weight or slim down or tone up or any of the above, then what you're looking to do is drop some excess body fat and potentially increase your muscle mass slightly to achieve that toned look. A lot of people use the word toned and don't really know how to define it. That would be the closest definition. Losing a little bit of excess body fat, increasing muscle mass and highlighting the muscle mass that's already there. Fortunately, you don't have to actually measure your total body fat in order to reduce it, which is lucky because when I was doing my personal trainer training, the examiner and instructor told me that the only way to accurately measure that is with an autopsy. There are several ways you can estimate your body fat percentage, machines, calipers, etc. And a lot of those are good estimates, but they are just that. Like I say, fortunately, you don't need to know what it is in order to reduce it, and you don't need to know exactly how many calories you burn in order to be in what we call a calorie deficit, i.e. eating fewer calories than you burn on a daily basis. What you do need to get a fairly accurate read on is your total daily energy expenditure. So how many calories your body burns in total on average per day. And this will be made up of 4 different key components. How many calories your body burns at rest, i.e. heart beating, lungs working, etc., etc. How many you burn through the thermal effect of food, i.e. digestion. How many you burn in or out of the gym in terms of working out. And how many you burn in your daily life. So any action that you take in your daily life that isn't exercise, so whether that be walking up the stairs, turning the kettle on, whatever you would class it as, blinking, fidgeting, all of those things add up to a certain number of calories, and you can call that your total daily energy expenditure. And like I say, we like to work on averages. The reason we're interested in an average is because every single day will be different. For example, if you work Monday to Friday in a fairly active job, but then you mainly chill on the weekends, clearly you're going to burn more calories through the week than you do on the weekend. On the flip side, if you work, say you work a few days a week in an office job where you're mainly sat at your desk, but then every weekend you take the kids hiking and whatnot, you're going to burn more calories on the weekend. It's totally dependent on your lifestyle. It's totally dependent on your circumstances. It's partially dependent on your physique as a person, how heavy you are, how tall you are, etc. And the biggest difference is what you do on a daily basis, but every single day for every single person is different. That's why we're interested in an average. So for example, a female of average body height with a little bit extra body fat that she's looking to lose, who works in a fairly active job and has a fairly active lifestyle, probably burns somewhere around 1900 to 1950 calories per day on average. If that person has been eating 2000 calories a day on average, then what will have happened is over time, their weight will have slowly crept up. 50 calories a day in excess of what they burn is almost negligible. It's almost nothing. It matters very little. It's about 2/3 of a bag of crisps. But a little bit compounded over time, so a little tiny bit of weight gain every day over time on average will eventually add up. Most people who've got a stone or more in excess body weight that they'd like to see the back of will not have gained that weight in a short period of time. They'll have gained it over a long period of time. And when you understand how your total daily energy expenditure works, it's easy to see how that can happen. Yeah, a little bit extra here and there without really noticing. You can go weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks without even noticing any weight change. And over time, over long periods of time, months and years, that can slowly make a difference. It's important to know how most weight is gained in order to understand how most weight will be lost and lost effectively. Studies show that almost everybody who loses a substantial amount of weight in a shortish period of time puts that weight back on, and often more, within the next 2 to 3 years. Don't get me wrong, if you're looking to lose a decent amount of weight in a short period of time for a specific reason, maybe you're going on holiday, maybe you are a competitive athlete looking to make a weight class, maybe you're getting married, whatever it is, I have no real issue with losing weight in a short period of time if it's for a specific reason and if you're mindful of the fact that it's not sustainable. To lose significant amount of weight over the long term, for the long term, i.e. to keep it off and to lead a healthier lifestyle, you need to do it slowly, consistently and safely. Ever heard the phrase slow and steady wins the race? That's exactly what we're aiming for here. Now, the easiest way to get a handle on your total daily energy expenditure is to use a free online calculator. It'll ask you a bunch of questions. Age, roughly what kind of lifestyle you lead, whether it be active or not, roughly how many steps per day perhaps, what weight you are currently, etc. So it'll build a picture of what your average daily expenditure looks like. With that information, we can then set a calorie deficit. So the idea is that, again, on average, we're going to be eating less calories in a day than we burn, and that's called a calorie deficit. That is the only way you will ever lose any weight, and the idea is that you do it slowly and consistently. Lots of people use step counters nowadays, so that can be a way that you can help gauge your daily expenditure. So, for example, 10,000 steps is categorized as quite a lot. Best thing to do really would be to look back. If you do count your steps, if you do have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or whatever that counts your steps, is to look back over a period of time, add them all together and divide them by how many days, because that will give you the closest you can get to an average. Once you've got your approximate total daily energy expenditure, so how many calories your body expects to burn in an average day, like I say, we'll look to add in a calorie deficit. Now, every single person will be different. However, for most people, a deficit of between 300 and 600 calories per day will be about right. Providing you eat the right types of food, and we'll talk about this in another video, then you'll still be able to stay relatively full and stave off that hungry feeling as best we can during the time that you're going to be in the deficit. Now, in order to stick to a calorie deficit, you're going to have to try and track your calories. Track how many calories you eat on a daily basis. This can be a daunting prospect for most people, especially if they're new to it, because there's no doubt about it, it's a bit of a faff. It can be a bit of a pain having to track every single thing you eat. We can talk about this in a lot more detail in another video, but if you'd like to get started in the meantime, there are free apps available that you can enter your calories into and type in, you can type in your TDEE, you can type in your deficit, you can put in your goals and track the food that you eat. Most of these apps you can use to scan barcodes on food, search for food. So for example, you can type in popular foods and it would come up with the information already put in there for you. So if you want to get started with that, it is the most effective way to track your calories. Tracking calories is the most effective way to stay in a deficit, and staying in a deficit is the only way that you can lose weight consistently over time. Don't get me wrong, you can make great progress without tracking your calories, but it is much harder. Studies have shown that people tend to struggle more when they try and eyeball it or make their best guess. So if you can, give it a go. And if it's not for you, if it's something that you really struggle with, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. You can track on a weekend or track on a weekday or just track your evening meals. Whatever you can do. Like I say, ideally track everything you eat, but it's not the absolute be all and end all. Hopefully that's all helpful. If you do have any specific questions, then by all means reach out. But until next time, take it easy.